The morning sun crept gently into the tiny apartment, brushing against the worn-out curtains and falling across the face of a man who had forgotten what peace felt like. For years, Liam had lived in a world where rest was a luxury, where every sunrise meant a new battle, and where one little boy depended on him more than oxygen. But that morning, just before his eyes fully opened, he sensed something unusual, something warm but startling, something that made his heart skip the moment he realized he wasn't alone. Because standing just a few feet away, quietly sipping coffee in his oversized shirt, was the woman the world knew as a ruthless, untouchable CEO. And as Liam blinked himself awake, confused and breathless, she looked at him with a softness no one had ever seen in her eyes before. What she said next would freeze him in place and change the entire course of his life in ways he never imagined. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unexpected miracles life can bring, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread to support more stories like this. Liam had not planned for any of this. He wasn't the kind of man who expected blessings to fall into his lap. In fact, life had taught him to expect the opposite. Ever since his wife passed away during childbirth, he had raised his son Noah alone, juggling multiple jobs, surviving on barely enough, and learning to love through brokenness. His days were a cycle of exhaustion and quiet hope. Every night he would watch Noah sleep and promise himself he would never give up, no matter how tired, how defeated, or how invisible he felt to the world. The world rarely noticed single fathers struggling in silence. Across the city, Elena Hartman was the complete opposite, sharp, powerful, iron-willed, and constantly surrounded by cameras, investors, and expectations she never asked for. She was the CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies, known for shutting down anyone who dared to underestimate her. But power often comes with a hollow echo, and behind her immaculate reputation were sleepless nights, loneliness disguised as confidence, and a heart that had forgotten how to feel anything gentle. People worshipped her success, but nobody saw the heaviness in her life. That changed the day she met Liam. They had collided in the most unexpected way, not through business or wealth, but through Noah. The little boy had wandered into the company's lobby during one of Liam's delivery jobs. Liam had panicked, embarrassed and overwhelmed, but instead of brushing them off, Elena had been strangely patient. Something about the single father's apologetic eyes and the child's innocent chatter pierced through her hardened exterior. She hadn't meant to invite them upstairs. She hadn't meant to ask questions. She definitely hadn't meant to feel anything. But that day spiraled into something new. Liam's gentle nature was refreshing. His humility contrasted her world of arrogance. His sincerity disarmed her. And little Noah, with his missing front tooth and endless questions, made her laugh, something she hadn't genuinely done in years. Still, nothing prepared Liam for what happened the night before the morning he found her in his shirt. Heavy rain had flooded the streets. Liam had tried to rush home with Noah, but his old car broke down. Elena, who was nearby after a late corporate meeting, saw them stranded. Without hesitation, she insisted they come with her. The storm worsened, leaving them no choice but to stay at Liam's apartment, the only place nearby that Noah felt safe. Liam had been embarrassed by his small, imperfect home, but Elena seemed untouched by the humble surroundings. Instead, she watched Noah fall asleep on the couch and something softened in her expression, something human and vulnerable. The night passed in quiet conversation, stories about dreams, failures, and the kind of pain only adulthood understands. Liam never imagined a woman like her could sit in his living room, barefoot and honest, listening to him like his words mattered. He offered her a t-shirt to sleep in, expecting her to keep her guarded distance. But her heart was shifting in ways she couldn't explain. That led to the morning where everything changed. When Liam woke up, he never expected to find the CEO, this woman who commanded rooms and built empires, standing in his kitchen, wearing his oversized shirt as if it belonged to her. The sunlight behind her painted her in soft gold, a stark contrast to the cold corporate lighting she lived under every day. For a moment, Liam wondered if he was dreaming. She looked peaceful, almost relieved, as if she had escaped a cage made of glass and expectations. She noticed his stunned expression and smiled the smallest, gentlest smile he had ever seen. That alone froze him, but what she said next shook the ground beneath him. She told him that she hadn't felt this safe, this human, this connected in years. She confessed that being in his home, around Noah, around someone who didn't want anything from her, felt like stepping into a life she never knew she was allowed to hope for. And then, with a trembling honesty, she added that she wanted to be part of something real, something soft, something she had forgotten how to let herself feel. She wanted to know what it meant to belong somewhere, not as a CEO, not as a symbol, but as a woman. And she whispered that she wasn't sure why, but she felt that belonging here, with them. Liam was speechless. His world had always been small, fragile, and unremarkable. He had never thought someone like her would see anything in him. But the truth reflected in her eyes wasn't pity or curiosity, it was longing, respect, and an unspoken promise that maybe, just maybe, both of them were exactly what the other needed. Days turned into weeks, and their unexpected connection grew into something neither had planned but both deeply needed. Elena would visit often, spending time not in boardrooms but in small moments, helping Noah with homework, sharing meals, laughing in the kitchen, discovering warmth she thought she would never feel again. Liam learned to trust again, slowly letting himself believe that love wasn't something reserved for others. He saw how Elena relaxed around them, how the armor she wore every day melted the moment she stepped through his door. She wasn't the CEO then, she was just Elena, a woman who finally allowed herself to be seen. But with every growing bond comes fear. Liam worried he wasn't enough. He feared the world would eventually take her back, that he would wake up one day and realize he had been foolish to dream. Elena, too, battled her own insecurities. She feared her world could hurt them, that her status would complicate everything, that she wasn't capable of the softness they deserved. Yet every time these fears surfaced, Noah would do something simple, a hug, a drawing, a giggle, and remind them both that love doesn't need permission or perfection. It just needed honesty. And honesty was the bridge that held them together. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Your support keeps these emotional stories alive. Before the ending, please comment below, kindness still exists. In the end, what began as an ordinary morning became the beginning of a new chapter neither of them expected. Liam realized he didn't have to face the world alone anymore. Elena realized she didn't have to hide behind power to feel worthy. And Noah gained something every child deserves, a home filled with laughter, safety, and love. Together, they formed a small, imperfect, beautiful family born from one extraordinary morning and one sentence that changed everything. And as life continued, they learned that sometimes the most powerful stories aren't the ones written in headlines but the ones built quietly inside the walls of a humble home, where hearts heal, hope returns, and second chances bloom when you least expect them.